Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well, and today I'll be doing a review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yes, this movie has finally been released after much speculation, after much commentary from various people, both pro and against it. And it is finally here. First off, I want to say apologies for not having the stream tonight. As you all know, if you follow me on social media or the community section here on YouTube, family has come into town, and so they just left. And so I wanted to make sure I was able to get this review out, and also just to say thank you again for always understanding and appreciating family coming first. And also, I wanted to mention that the Wednesday Raven Award nominations are indeed in. If you watched last stream, I announced those nominations. You can go and check out the website to find all of the nominations listed over there. And also a link, which is now available, which will bring you to your official third annual Wednesday Raven Award 2020 official ballot, where you can indeed choose who the winners will be in this year's awards. You actually get to rank the best movies of the year, 1 to 4, and so it'll actually be a winner determined on what is the most liked film, not just the film that has the most number 1 votes, but what movie has a lot of number 1 and 2 and 3 votes as well. So again, go ahead and check that out on the website. Link to the website in the description below. All right, without any further ado, let's get into Zack Snyder's Justice League. And let me just say this much. It's a good film. And I don't say that lightly because, as you all know, I am a very big critic of Zack Snyder. I am not a big fan of his movies. I think that he is very much a style over substance person. And after recent events with him throwing shade at Geeks and Gamers, I also don't really think of him as being that much of a stand-up guy, especially since that group that he threw under the bus was the primary reason why they were able to raise over $100,000 to an amazing charity. So again, I do not have a lot of fair-mindedness, not fair-mindedness, that's not the right word for it, but goodwill towards Zack Snyder or his universe, because as I said before, even before all of that stuff, was really not a big fan of his movies. I just don't think his movies have ever been very well written. I think that he would be much better off in a producer's role, right? Someone who is looking at the big picture items, but not actually dealing with the actors, not actually dealing directly with the script in any way whatsoever, right? I think that he has way too much of a focus on the visuals of the movie and not so much on the story of the movie. And again, I know the screenplay was written by Chris Terrio, but as it says there, the story was indeed by Zack Snyder, and I think that, again, he would just be in a better position if he was in a producer's role. So let's go ahead and dive into the movie and explain why I think that this movie is, inherently and at first glance, good. Well, it makes sense, and that is not something that is often to be said about a lot of Zack Snyder's films. I think a lot of them tend to leave a lot to be desired. I think that a lot of times that there's questions that need to be asked and need to be answered. And I think the great example of that, of course, was BVS, right? When BVS came out, it was not a good film. And then, of course, there was a director's cut came out, which added 30 extra minutes. And in my opinion, yeah, it helped explain a couple of storylines, but in the end, it had a lot of problems, and it just really wasn't all that great of a film, and hasn't aged that well. And I think that Zack Snyder's movies just don't age well, and I think that this movie is another example of why his films do not age well. And the reason why is because he is so obsessed. And again, don't get me wrong, all right? I as I said, in general, I like this movie. However, the caveat there is in comparison to all of the other movies that he has made. And I say that because, again, going back to the point I was mentioning beforehand about why his films don't age well, when the vast majority of your film takes place either in a computer or by use of green screen, it means that your movie is going to look artificial. It means that there's always going to be something off about what you're seeing on screen. And seeing that some of the best, or what could be best and could be coolest moments of the film, are going to need a lot of, what ideally would be stunt work, but in this case would be CGI use and green screen use with, of course, some use of stunt work as well. It just looks so fake. And because it looks so fake, for me, that is always a distraction. Now, don't get me wrong, right? There are so many other superhero films, and hey, MCU, they don't get a pass on this either, right? There's a reason why I've gone after films like Age of Ultron and Endgame, and one of the reasons why is because of really bad and poor use of CGI, and the fact that, again, they also use way too much green screen to the point where it just looks, again, artificial and fake. And that's why I don't think his films age very well. Like, go back to 300. Once again, the film was looking great for its time. Many people still enjoy it because of the scenes and the lines and because of the nostalgia of it. But for me, when I go back and look at a movie like that, all I can see is just the digital noise that has just not translated well to the modern audience. And I think that that's what's going to happen with Justice League as well. Not only because of the fact that, again, huge portions of this 4-hour epic are just all green screen special effects stuff, but also because of the 4:3 aspect ratio, which some have tried to argue, hey, he did that because it was meant to be seen on an IMAX screen. But that's actually not really true, because if you want to see what a film that has IMAX shots looks like, just look to a Christopher Nolan movie. And guess what happens? It has the regular cinematic look where the black bars are on the top, right? The kind of like 16:9 aspect ratio. And then when it is an actual IMAX shot, what happens? Those black bars on the top and bottom disappear. What happened in this movie? You're literally stuck in a 4:3 aspect ratio the entire time. And again, that's an artistic choice. And again, I think that adds to my point. He is style over substance, right? He's all about the 4:3 aspect ratio. He's all about, oh, I want to make sure that I have all these different visual effects and these visual cues and these green screens and all this other stuff. And again, it's like all about trying to create that image, right? We can look back to other films that he's done. Films like Sucker Punch, for instance. You know, I mentioned 300. Sucker Punch is another great example, right? That film, so much CGI, so much green screen. It looks so fake, so artificial, does not age well. And because his focus is so much on that aspect, on trying to be a visual and a visionary director, he ends up losing the plot. He ends up losing the key elements. In a normal case, in a normal film, this is an exception. So again, for a Zack Snyder film, this is an exception. However, the caveat to this, the only way that he can get around to this, is if he makes the movie 4 hours long. And some people have been, I think, taking this out of context and have been attacking me and other people when we just even mentioned this on social media about the 4 hours. I don't care that the movie's long. I love long movies. If a movie is good and I don't ever want to leave that universe, guess what? I don't care how long that movie is. The reason why I love the extended editions of Lord of the Rings are because the films are so freaking great and the worlds that are created are so good that I don't want to leave those worlds. Whereas with this world that Zack Snyder has built with the Snyderverse, it's a world that I'm really not that fond to be in because it just all looks so artificial and fake because, again, the vast majority of it is either on a green screen or by using some CGI visual effects. And again, there's always going to be that issue. There's always going to be that thing that's going to be holding the film back years and years down the road, especially. So, once again, I go back to that point to say that he has indeed been able to actually get across a competent story and actually not lose entirely the story for the first time, in my opinion, in his directorial life. Now, obviously, the one film of his, the main films of his that I've not seen yet is the Dawn of the Dead film that he did. I've heard good things about it. But as far as the films that I have seen, especially when he discovered CGI and just can't stop using it, he's, again, always been more style over substance, but it takes him 4 hours. And here's the thing. You can't be a working Hollywood director today if you can only tell competent stories that are still really poor looking visually, and it takes you 4 hours every single time, right? Because we can talk about people like Tarantino, whose films are typically 2 hours, 45 minutes, right? We can talk about directors that make longer films, longer epic movies, but they tend to also be ones that focus mostly on story, or at the very least have a balance of all of the different pieces and parts. Snyder doesn't have that, right? Snyder, again, he's a visual guy, he's a visual director, and I understand that many people watching this video who are going to downvote it just because I'm not giving praise to this film are going to be fans of his style. I am not. Again, to me, it's a little too artificial and it's really hard to get into. But as I said, this is by far the best thing that Snyder has done because all the characters in the film actually get a backstory. You don't feel like you're missing a whole lot on these characters. You feel like that most of them are pretty much fleshed out. You have some really cool new sequences that are added in with new characters as well. The whole Mother Box stuff makes a hell of a lot more sense now. There's a really cool sequence, right? There's this really cool sequence that I think there was more put into where Diana essentially explains everything with Darkseid. And I think that was, again, something that was desperately needed, right? Especially in a more fleshed out way. You have all of these other things that go on, right? Obviously, you have 2 hours, essentially, of more stuff. You also, of course, in that 2 hours of extra footage, have a lot of that footage being slow motion sequences, which can work. Again, slow motion, when it's used correctly, can absolutely be an effective tool. But again, Zack Snyder, style over substance, overuses the slow motion trope. He uses it so often that it begins to lose its effectiveness. He uses it so often to the point where you say, wait, why are they using slow motion here? There's no reason to use slow motion here. And I think the best way to show that is he uses slow motion at random parts of the movie. But then the one time that it actually makes sense to use slow motion is anytime the Flash is using his power, right? That is when slow motion absolutely should be used because, again, it gets across the power that's being used there. But because he has already used that slow motion so many times before and after, it loses its effectiveness. And again, the visual effects don't really hold up. Now, acting in this film is pretty good. It's pretty solid. I think that especially Ray Fisher, who I was very critical of in the previous cut of this movie because his character wasn't really fleshed out and again, most of the footage that we saw from him was just his stoic portrayal and very boring and didn't show any life to it. Hey, guess what? We got a little bit more of Cyborg here, and we were able to get a more fleshed out character. And it looked like Ray Fisher indeed was able to do a lot more. But just like I was saying before, and I'll say it again, one of the big problems with Zack Snyder is also he is not an actor's director. He is not the director that's going to be able to get the best performances out of his actors, right? He's not like a Tarantino. He's not like even a Woody Allen, right? Despite what people may think of Woody Allen. The fact is that Woody Allen has brought so many actors to getting accolades because of how he is able to get the best performances out of them. And the same can be said for people like Quentin Tarantino as well, where he just knows how to work with actors. He knows how to get the best performances from them. Snyder, again, is because he's so focused on the visuals that he loses the story, but that also means that he's going to have to put more trust in his actors, which again, some people might think is a good quality in a director, but it also means that there's going to be moments where you're going to say, is that really the best way or the way that that line should have been delivered? You know, what was Zack Snyder doing at that time? Was he too focused on the look of what was going on? Was he too focused on what the visual was going to look like that he looked past and didn't catch and didn't see what was said and how it was said? Maybe. Could be. So we have, again, good elements in this movie. Compared, again, to any other Zack Snyder film, this would be an A movie in comparison to those. As still a general movie, to me, for my grade, it's a C+. It's a C+ movie. And the reason why it's a C+ movie is because you still have these visuals that, again, are just complete digital noise on screen. You still have these characters that, even though they are a lot more fleshed out, especially since we know that this is a universe that was established by Zack Snyder with future ideas in mind, for us to get to these points, it's like, okay, so none of this matters because you're not listed or even being talked about to be included in the story writing process for the future of the DCEU. And so that means that basically HBO and AT&T have kind of established that this is going to be a one-off in a way, right? That this story is going to be self-contained and is not going to have any impact on the other DCEU films that they have going forward, which apparently they say they have a plan. And that Zack Snyder, I think, has been able to actually see this plan. But does it match up to the plan that he laid out here, right? Could, maybe it won't. It seems like it wouldn't just based on everything that we have heard from this. The other reason why I give this film a C+ is because of the ending, right? I think there's a great point in this film where you have this what should be this last shot right? This last shot where you have the heroes all lined up together. The music swells. By the way, the score of this film, pristine, fantastic, great work done. But you have this great shot of them all being seen together, and then you get epilogue. And then in the epilogue, you get a series of random stories and random endings, which again are all meant to tie into what Zack Snyder was wanting to do with this universe. And again, if this was actually a road that was going to lead to somewhere, hey, maybe it wouldn't be as bad. But it really just made the ending feel so disjointed because you just felt like you had to start and stop. Okay, now another character start and stop. And a natural ending, which would have been that very end sequence, right? Which would have actually been a strong ending. Like that would have been putting this level into that strong, solid B range. It slips back into the C plus range because of the disjointedness of that ending. But anyway, those are my thoughts about Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I know there's going to be a lot of DCEU fans, but more specifically, Snyder fanboys who can't take any criticism, who are going to hate this video, who are going to leave nasty comments, who are going to leave the downvotes, right? And again, that is your right to do. But I just want you to know that I am incredibly happy that the fans were able to get this project and were able to will this project into existence. It makes me sad that Zack Snyder seems to not really care about a core group of those fans, people who were at the forefront of that, members of the Geeks and Gamers team who he decided to throw under the bus after raising thousands upon thousands of dollars for charity, right? It makes me very sad that he was willing to do that. But with all that being said, this film, again, for a Zack Snyder film, is pretty dang good. Is pretty well done. Things actually make sense. Things actually work. But it is still also a Zack Snyder movie. There is a certain style to it. And as I said, it always comes across more as style over substance. And because of that, it means that you're either going to really love it. If you dig the vision, if you dig his style, guess what? You're going to enjoy this movie. If you're someone like me who is not really a anti-Snyder person, right? It's not like, oh, I'm just going to hate Snyder for everything he does. It's more of a, I don't think his style is very good because of X, Y, and Z reasons. Well, then I think that you'll probably have problems with it like I did. And so I don't agree with any of the major media shills who are either going to praise or condemn this movie for any reason. I think I kind of stand in a unique position. Not to say that I'm the only one that has this position, but again, for me, I'm looking at it from all different angles. I'm looking at it trying to be not rose-tinted glasses. And again, I think a lot of people who are praising this movie are looking at it through rose-tinted glasses because they wanted this film to be the best. And even if he had put a giant turd and sprinkled it in gold powder, they would still have said it was the best film they've ever seen. Let's just be honest for a second, please. Let's just be honest, right? But there are going to be people that are going to genuinely enjoy this film because subjectively they enjoy it. Again, this is where we get into that difference between objective and subjective, right? Objectively, this film hits a lot of good points, but there are also some key objective flaws to this, especially in the styling. There's also going to be a lot of subjective viewpoints here as well, right? And obviously, that is going to be up to one's opinion. So again, subjectively, I have issues with Zack Snyder's universe, but I also hopefully was able to lay out why there are some objective flaws with this film as well. But what are your thoughts about this? Let me know in the comment section below. Lord knows this video is probably going to get some crazy interactions. So please, again, be kind to one another. You know, as Zack Snyder himself said, even after totally dissing Geeks and Gamers, you know, it should all about this whole movement should all be about fighting hate. So for any of the Zack Snyder fanboys out there, if you really honestly believe in the words of Zack Snyder, don't embrace the hate. But anyway, you guys are all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Please make sure to vote in the 3rd annual Wednesday Raven Awards. Again, check out the website and go to the Raven Awards page. You can see where it says Raven Awards here. Go to Raven Awards for 2020, and that'll get you access to this link. And then fill out your ballot as soon as you can. You guys are great. Have a wonderful day, everybody. We will have a Chosen of Valhalla live stream tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So again, apologies for no stream tonight, but we will have one tomorrow with my Chosen. Should be a fun discussion. I'm sure Zack Snyder's Justice League will be on the table. The Geeks and Gamers situation on the table. tons of things on the table. You guys rock. I also have a ton of movie reviews to do. I've seen so many things. I just saw Boss Level on Hulu. I saw the Trial of the Chicago 7. I've seen the Blade Trinity the Blade Trilogy in full. So many films that I need to come back and do reviews for. So be on the lookout. Hopefully I'll be able to get those out to y'all sometime this week. You guys rock. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my March Patreon members: Andrew Hoyle, Animation Commentator, Brian P., Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, The Honky Chonky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toon, Jonathan Carney, Laura the Modern Major General Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, on to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Biffer the Hobbit, and of course the Empress of the Universe, Tina B. Thank you all very much for being my Patreon members. And now a shout out to all of my Subscribe Star members: Stan 4, John B., Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / the new number 2, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nebanon G. Adams, and ZK Man. And Dion, thank you all so very much for being my Subscribe Star members, and to everyone who has been supportive of the channel. Of course, a shout out to my YouTube members, and you all know that you get your special perks every single time that we do a live stream, so thank you again for your support. If you want to have your name shouted out at the end of every single live stream and at the end of every single video, please check out the links in the description below to become a Patreon or Subscribe Star member today. You're going to also get access to things at the upper tiers, like a bi-weekly podcast that I do with my friend John the Flick Pick Flickinger. We also, of course, have a Chosen of Valhalla live stream once a month where me and my Chosen come together on this channel to talk about whatever it is that they want to talk about. So anyway, if all that stuff sounds interesting to you, please check out the links below. You guys are amazing, beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless.